This video is on the Walkie-Talkie. No, not that one. The Walkie-Talkie in London. No, that's a Bobby with his Walkie-Talkie. I mean the big skyscraper one next to the Churchy and the Bridgy. The Walkie-Talkie is a buildy-wildy across the pond in London that one place with all the king's horses and all the king's men, or something. I'll stop with the rhyming now. The Walkie-Talkie is a 38-story commercial skyscraper that houses various insurance companies in the City of London's financial district, and it was built in 2014. It was designed by New York-based architect Raphael Vignoli, who, fun fact, also designed one of the skinny boys in Billionaires Row. The building was designed to reduce its footprint and instead get bigger as it gets taller, to create more valuable floor area on the upper floors and leave room for pedestrians on the lower floors. It was shaped to complete a visual arc between the River Thames and the cluster of skyscrapers to the east. However, during the design process, concerns were raised over how it would affect the nearby Tower of London and St. Paul's Cathedral, so the design was made shorter, presumably because it would stick out like a sore thumb, which of course it does. After a public inquiry in 2007, despite the continued protests of various local heritage groups, the issues were considered resolved and the developers were granted permission to move ahead with construction anyways. The design was so great, in fact, that the British magazine Building Design made it the 2015 winner of the Carbuncle Cup, an annual award presented to the ugliest building built in the past 12 months. And if you don't want to win one of those, you're going to want to learn something about architecture, so make sure to subscribe. But anyways, it's a weirdly shaped building for sure. It's called the Walkie-Talkie because apparently it looks like one. Personally, I think it looks more like a giant space heater, which is really fitting, but before that, let's talk about Archimedes. The OG Dr. Doofenshmirtz, the mad lad building war machines to fight off the Romans in Sicily. One of his war machines was the Death Ray. It sounds a lot cooler than it was. Basically, he pointed some mirrors at incoming Roman ships and concentrated sunlight on them to set them on fire. Sorta like that one kid from Toy Story. That's not super important though. What is important is that sunlight bounces off stuff like a British 12-year-old jacked up on Monster Energy tea. If light doesn't get absorbed by a surface, it gets reflected. Smooth surfaces reflect more since they cause what's known as specular reflection, which is when light reflects at the same angle as it hits the surface. And yeah, sure, cool, sunlight reflects. But what about the skyscraper? Well, take a look. It's pretty curvy, or curvilinear if you want to be sciencey about it. It's also concave, meaning the surface, mostly made out of glass, which happens to be a pretty smooth surface, is curved inward. Remember that, it's important later on. On one beautiful British day, Mr. Lindsay parked his Jag on East Cheap Street and probably went to the nearby cafe for a nice spot of tea and crumpets. Now, London is a place with very little sunlight, except for when it's not, and so I think you can see the problem. When sunlight hits the building for a couple hours in the day, it would bounce right back off onto the ground, which I am told is where cars usually are. It created super concentrated reflections, chucking solar radiation back at the ground, making it almost 600 times brighter than the buildings around it. So hot that a reporter literally fried an egg in the heat. And so 1 + 1 equals Mr. Lindsay's car getting its wing mirror, panels, and Jaguar badge melted off, to which he replied in the standard British etiquette, "Crikey, that's awful." The whole debacle led to the building being given the name the Skyscraper, or my personal favorite, the Walkie-Scorchy. And Mr. Lindsay said that the developers apologized and agreed to sort out the £946 repair costs. Now, if you want to build your very own giant evil sunlight bouncing car melting skyscraperinator, go ahead, I guess. Let me know how it goes in the comments below.